Welcome to the Spotlight on Marketing, brought to us by Armstrong Lloyd. I'm your host, Karen Lloyd, and today we are joined by David Keane, the Chief Marketing Officer for the European division of Witpro. David has an impressive career track record working for powerhouse technology companies such as Google, SAP, Salesforce and Oracle. Also, he's worked for scale-up businesses such as Speechmatics and Funding Options by Tide. David is an insightful visionary CMO, which has earned him recognition as a thought leader. So join us as we delve into his wealth of experience and uncover the valuable insights into navigating the ever-evolving landscape of the technology marketing landscape. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Karen. That was a very, very kind introduction. I'm not sure who that guy is, but yeah, thank you for having me on.
Now, it's funny, isn't it? It's often weird when someone talks about you, you actually realise, oh, that person sounds really impressive, but it can't be me. It's like our own self-voice. It's quite a nice way to be, I think.
I feel a little embarrassed when you say those things, but thank you.
Well, I'm going to embarrass you a tiny bit more before we get into the interview, because first of all, also being congratulations on being awarded the 2024 Top Global B2B CMO Award by Hot Topics. How did you feel about this?
I don't do anything. The team does everything. So it's an award for the team. I was just there to pick up the award and say thank you and just bring the glass trophy back home.
It's great, isn't it, to be recognised for the team and everybody involved. And there were some impressive peers in there, isn't it? So to be in a mix of those top 100, it really is rather impressive. So exactly. So congratulations on that. So that's great. Let's get down to business then. Let's talk about where you are at the moment and, you know, the sort of changing landscape of technology, because we're in the other day we were talking, for some, we're in a bit of a winter at the moment in terms of the economy and in terms of a technology space, and just wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Okay,
so 2024 and 2023, I think we'll look back on those and say they were fairly tough times for everyone. You know, we've got a lot of disruptive technologies coming through, a lot of new technologies. We've got the hangover from the pandemic. And organizations are trying to figure out, okay, where do we go in this new post-pandemic, post-AI world? And how does that change things? How does it work? So I see it as we went through a lot of euphoria during the pandemic period where there was huge investments, rocketing stock markets, all of the usual things. And this to me is more just like a readjustment. I wouldn't say it's the winter right now. I think we're in the spring. We certainly see green shoots. We see customers wanting to do, a whole range of really interesting industry projects. Lots of interest in AI and how do we use AI in a scaled, genuine way rather than just a bootstrapped, tire kicking kind of way. But there's some really interesting projects coming out, some big customers doing some good stuff, and it's going to be an interesting year. I think as we roll through later in 2024 and going into 2025, we're going to see, growth genuinely coming back, particularly when we get beyond elections, and hopefully some of the global instability will calm down and we'll move to a kind of more peaceful world, and everyone can get back to their day jobs.
It has been, you're right, I think it has been a really tough year for many, certainly the people I speak to, and some people are still hoping, they are still seeing some spring, and there are some people that are doing very well. There are some companies that are, but it's just this sort of scale, isn't it, of where the market is at the moment. But I think it's hopeful for people to hear what you said. So at the moment, there are some companies that are not investing so much in marketing. So, as a CMO, what do you advocate in marketing investment, and why do you feel it's important, especially now?
So look, there's two sides to your marketing investment. There's your demand generation investment, and then there's your brand investment. They leverage each other. And I think sometimes it's very easy to forget that your brand investment is needed to ensure that your demand keeps rising. If we just route all of our demand generation budgets into that pure demand piece, driving leads for sales, which of course sales really want, you then don't get that kind of bootstrapping leverage of the brand growing. So we have to kind of do both. We have to bring in specific deals. We have to look at the channels that we're bringing those deals in through. And we have to have a look at how we build our brand create our value proposition in the minds of the buyers that are out there, and really get considered for the projects that are ongoing. So the two kind of come together. What I'd say about going through a difficult time or going through a time where there's a real focus on cost, marketing isn't a cost. Marketing is a revenue stream. And I think that's the mindset that I would encourage leaders to adopt, to say that by putting money into marketing, you're going to actually build your business. It doesn't arrive immediately, but it will arrive. And that revenue stream that's marketing should be maintained during these times.
Great. And have you got an example somewhere in your career where maybe there was some resistance to marketing and you brought some ideas in and turned around the anti-marketers, perhaps, should I say, or not anti-marketers, but maybe somebody who wasn't so bought into some of the strategies?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to name companies, but I'll give you maybe kind of some examples without names. Often when we work with our sales colleagues and when we're working at the board level, the organizations that we work in are very data driven. The executives there often come from either a financial or an operations background or a sales background. And that element of building an emotional connection with a brand, defining who you are, what you stand for, etc., doesn't always fully resonate when people are looking at how do we make our quotas this quarter? How do we make these targets? So those targets are the things that the board, the exco, tends to sit down and look at the whole time. And as the marketing leader, it's really, really important to be the voice of the customer, to be the voice of the buyer, and to help explain and really build a consensus around the need for brand, the need for building that organization. And intuitively, everybody understands it because they all have brand perceptions themselves. But when you're kind of in that detail, looking at how do we hit the number this quarter? What do these deals look like? What's happening? Let's put some more money into performance marketing or whatever it might happen to be. You need to stand up and just help people understand that this is damaging to switch solely to the demand side, the commercial side of the business. You also need that marketing strategy piece around building the brand and the long term. So it's balancing the long term and the short term with the leadership teams.
And have you got like an aha moment that you learnt from something you did that you've rolled out to other companies in this sort of journey of?
Gosh, that's a good question. I guess working at Google was always really interesting. So Google kind of almost goes the other way, and it works with very long lenses on things. So doing brand work at Google was probably a great aha moment for me, just around the need for a playful, soft brand where you're actually engaging people and where people are connecting with you as an organization above possibly more than anything. So the focus there was always on how do we engage? Who do we engage? What's the long term? And I guess my aha moment is I was a very early employee of Google Enterprise. So Google Enterprise became G Suite, Google for Work. It's now Google Workspace and Google Cloud. So it's now this huge business. At the beginning, what we did was we went out and we focused really on small businesses, and we focused on schools and colleges and universities. And the idea there was by creating the Google Classroom product, we could give that technology and that software to school children, people studying wherever they were, and then they would enter at a later point into the world of work, and they would be an advocate for Google and Google's products. And that's exactly what happened. And it was a really great example of a long-term perspective where, marketing tends to be very data-driven. We weren't generating leads because we didn't know where these people were going to be in 5 years' time. But what happened was the people went through that process. They then moved into the world of work and said, hey, we should be really using this technology because it works way better. So that long-term building a relationship, having a conversation, building empathy and understanding of those customers is really, really key.
Yeah, that's really clever, because Microsoft really was very dominant in that space. And guess why it probably was? Because guess what I learned at university in the 90s was Microsoft
Exactly.
Excel.
Yeah.
It was like, at the time we thought it was probably how we thought AI is now. I remember the first time somebody showed me you could add up a whole spreadsheet by just doing a formula and it would be like magic. And now we're like, well, of course. But at the time that was like cutting edge.
The other part of that story as well is we really focused on mobile as a route to market. So we focused on use cases and customers who had a big mobile need, where we knew that actually Outlook and Word and Excel, etc., didn't work well off a regular laptop, and the Google products worked fantastically on those mobile devices, on Android or on iOS. And we just got a lot of our landmark kind of initial customers who were really, really focused on that. People like John Lewis here in the UK, where everybody in the store would have a phone and they could actually use the products there on their phone whilst they were supporting and helping clients, shoppers in the store. The other one was Rent-A-Kill, where you had these people driving around in their vans dealing with, all sorts of nasties. And we worked with them building out solutions for their phones where they could recognize, different types of rodent poop or whatever, and they could engage as a community in real time. And this was all being done through their phones rather than being done using the old technology. So this was a shift of device as well, that we spotted that really early on, and we really lent into that.
Yeah, and it's probably a really early example of partner marketing as well, I guess, because that was like working in partnership with others and sort of not just owning, we want that to have every part of the slice. We're happy to work with a partner to push our product out there. But I think it's particularly smart, although some of the ones wouldn't have necessarily been young, but the early adopters, I think, our brains are 25 before we, once we hit something at the age 25, I don't know if you know that, your brain locks in, doesn't it? And you're harder to influence and change, just the way your brain develops. So, yeah, I think that's super smart. In terms of tech stack, so you're really keen on tech stack, aren't you? And it's something that's very, having the right tech stack and using that is one of your key marketing strategies. Do you want to talk about, what your views are on, tech stack and how it should be implemented in a business?
So as a marketing leader, clearly you need to focus on your brand and building your brand. You then also need to focus on how you do feed the sales teams and how you get the leads across to them and what those processes look like. And you've got multiple pieces in that tech stack. As a marketing leader, it's very easy to just focus on a small piece of that, but you have to really stand up high and look at all the way from brand engagement, brand sentiment, brand empathy, through the clicks to your websites, through the intent that those people start to show, through nurturing those contacts that you start to find with different tactics, all the way through to when they pass across to sales. And you need to ride alongside sales. So it needs to be sales and marketing, not just sales bringing in the deals. You need to be there with them, supporting them, doing whatever it takes. I sit on our sales calls, I talk to customers, I go and spend time with the people that we're doing work with. And it's the most important thing for any young aspiring marketing leader. My advice to them would be, understand this whole route from initial awareness of brand, initial click on a website or a social platform, all the way through to revenue coming in, and then retention of that revenue and customer success. So you have to look at that entire platform. And you have to think about, how does your CRM platform fit into that? How does your marketing automation platform fit in? How does any kind of intent or de-anonymization tools that you've got? What does your data lake look like? So all of those things you've got to be really, really good with. And as a marketeer, get out there and learn SQL so that you can pull data yourself, raw data, and start to look at it. Learn these tools so that you can actually do your own reports. Don't rely on an operations person to do this. And when you take that approach, you can start to implement a revenue operations strategy rather than a sales operations and a marketing operations approach. And really, that's where I think companies will be in 5 to 10 years. That will be the normal approach, where you look at revenue operations from the beginning of the journey through to the end. And you start to look at how that funnel is shaped, what it looks like, and how we avoid it being too wide at the top. And make sure that our conversion ratios are really good, and how we figure out how we do nurture properly, how that big nurture tank starts to evolve. So that revenue operations discipline is really, really key, and marketing leaders need to be in there.
What would you say some pitfalls that you've learned on the way for implementing tech stack? Is there anything that's you feel that there's been a challenge or problem with a business where it may be fallen down?
Yeah, I think that the challenges that we face are if people try to use the data to justify a point of view. So, it's very easy to say, right, we need to make ourselves look great. Let's pull data that makes us look amazing. And you can do that. There's a lot of data there. The data should be used to understand where you are in the business and understand genuinely, what's working, what's not working. In my career, I've seen organizations where marketing are claiming that they've been super successful and then sales miss their numbers. That's not okay. It's either sales and marketing are successful or nobody is successful. You can't have one of those two being successful, and winning the game on their own. It has to be both of you together. So the pitfall is use the data to understand the real situation that you're in. Get under the skin of what's happening. Understand your customers. Understand, are you engaging with the right people? This isn't just, there's a lot of vanity metrics that as marketeers, people like to focus on, how many clicks did we get? How many likes did we get? That's all fantastic. And it gives you some insight. It's not the end game. And when you look at, LinkedIn, people have a real focus on LinkedIn as a channel at the moment. If you're marketing to a particular account through LinkedIn, just saying that you got kind of 10 clicks or 10 people looking at your landing page or whatever it was, that doesn't mean anything. You need to understand when they looked at your pages, how long did they stay? What was the attention they provided to it? Did they come back to it? If possible, who were they? You could have somebody who's like studying for some kind of qualification who's coming to your site there and actually has no influence on the buying process. So this is really avoid using data to justify your position and defend your position. Be humble with the data, be insightful with the data, open up the areas that aren't working and the areas that are working, and, just trust that that's the way that the business gets the best value. Be a steward for the business.
Yeah, it is amazing, actually. Even very senior people sometimes that get hung up on click-throughs and traffic. And one of the things when I interview people, most of the remit, I'm always looking for people who are commercial and marketing, and they're looking for a commercial outcome. It's my passion. It's why I do this podcast. It's what I really believe in, is that marketing is that commercial outcome. So it often, I can feel my head shaking when people say, oh, yeah, we got the click-throughs or the traffic was up. And I was like, well, what was the revenue generated?
So what was
from
the
that? And yeah, exactly. What's the impact? How can you tell what was the ultimate outcome of that? What's the story you can tell on that? And it is amazing how many people are quite surprised that I challenge them on that, but also that they're surprised that, that they don't know the answer, and they realise it's good that I catch it before they get to interview, because then they can do something about it before they go there. So I do ask this question. It's a little bit tactical, but what if you had to choose a favourite metric? What would be your favourite metric that you would choose in marketing?
So it would be the opportunities that we source. So, a lot of leaders focus on marketing qualified leads. I think that's it's a vanity metric, because you're marking your own homework there. Accepted opportunities or influenced opportunities in the pipeline that sales have said, yes, this is real, and we'll engage with the customer. That's the metric that I like most. Ultimately, you want to say, how much revenue did you influence? How much revenue did you engage with? How much revenue did you source? That's a harder metric to get to, and there's a lot of variables in there. But you can run a team really effectively through a commercial lens by helping them set OKRs that will define, what the key results are around opportunities in the pipe and which ones they want to influence, which ones come in just randomly that you hadn't targeted, that weren't on your targeted account list, your named account list. So I would focus on that. I would focus on opportunities that came through the marketing funnel or opportunities that were influenced by the marketing funnel. That's two. I know I'm cheating. Sorry.
No, and this brings us nicely on to, as we're on the subject of data, I know we discussed this off camera before, that we can see that obviously the future of third-party data is actually quite a changing landscape. And, how do you envision this is going to play out, and what strategies would you recommend having in place?
So let's look at the types of data that we've got here. We've got third-party data, which comes from some random source that probably didn't opt in to get any messages from you whatsoever. There's a lot of vendors out there who, provide databases of names and phone numbers. It's a real cold calling kind of, hey, would you like to do this thing with us? We'd love to talk to you. Do people want that? Well, I don't want that as a leader, as a senior leader. I don't want that. I don't want people to contact me, unless I've reached a point where I'm engaged. So that third-party data, I think, dies over time. So that will go. If we then look at second-party data and the way we get data through our partners, which is what, where your second-party data lies, then that data itself is useful and engaging. You mentioned before around alliances and partner marketing. Working with your partners on people where you've got some kind of affinity, that's really useful. So that shift from third party to second party. And then if we look at first party data, that's the data we hold around the customers and that we can use. And we've got permission, we've got opt-in, we can engage with them. Where does this all go? It goes to something that is called zero party data, which I'm really, really keen on. And I kind of push my team a lot on this. And the zero party data is interesting because it comes back to the marketing tech stack as well. So when you're thinking about zero party data, for any of the listeners who haven't come across this term, you're really saying, I want the customer to tell me what they're looking for. I want the customer to tell me what they're interested in. It's not just about, GDPR permission, which is your first party data. It's about them opting in and saying, hey, I'm really interested in the retail environment. I'm interested in improving my supply chain. I'm based in Germany and, I want you to be very specific about the way you engage with me. And, I'm interested in these particular things. So helping customers raise their hand, being respectful to them, not spamming them. No one wants to be spammed. Like, if there's anyone out there that doesn't have enough emails, they can have some of mine. My inbox is full every day with hundreds of these things that are really poorly targeted. Be laser targeted, understand your customer. And then the other key thing about this on the data front is to understand that, particularly in the B2B space, we're moving more and more into buying groups or buying teams. And we're moving away from a single individual buying something. B2C still is potentially, a one person or like small number of people buying. In the B2B world, it's more and more a large group of people. So we need to think about the different ways of managing data across a buying group, where some people in that buying group are net promoters of you, some are actual coaches that will engage with you, some people are negative towards you. So we need to think about how we map those influence strategies and also behavioral strategies in there. And there's some really interesting tools that allow you now to use AI to map out the personality types of the people in that account. And particularly with a big deal, it's worth doing that. And marketing can come to the table in a creative way around personality typing, influence mapping, and figuring out, okay, how do we get this group across the line? rather than thinking about an individual persona or ICP. Marketeers still think about, okay, I've got to write this white paper for a CTO. Well, that's one little piece of the puzzle. How does it fit into the buying group where you've got 15 people who are going to make the decision between them, and no one person holds the budget anymore? So I think that's a long answer to your question about data, but I think third-party data, don't use it. It doesn't really help you very much. No one wants to be cold called. Work with your second-party data and your first-party data, and if you can get to that zero-party data, that's a huge advantage for you as a marketing team.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of zero party data actually. So that you've taught me something today. I'm intrigued. So if somebody hadn't started, this is like brand new to them, and this is the first time they've heard that. Is there anything you suggest they could go and start to research, or a good place for them to start, other than obviously understanding from you? But anything else they could start on that journey of zero party data?
Have a little read on the internet around it. There's lots of ideas there. But if you think about the idea of nurturing contacts in your database and progressive profiling, this is how you get to that zero party data. It's very easy on a website now, using the kind of MarTech that we've got available to us, to have little pop-ups that say, hey, thanks for coming back. It's great to see you here. Would you like to let us know what you're interested in? Are you interested in a particular industry, or a particular size of solution, or a particular budget? And AI and chatbots enable us to do that really, really well. And it's really interesting. If you look at chatbots as a channel, people think of chatbots as a lead channel. For me, it's a data channel. So if you're really clever with your chatbot and your AI, you can start to build out genuine understanding of each person that's coming and having a look on your website. And you need to do it in a non-intrusive way. It needs to feel okay. It needs to feel normal to do that. So think about how you can apply that, how you can get your targets to engage with you. And also, historically, we focus very heavily on campaigns. It's like, here's a campaign, it needs an ROI. If the world is moving more to a journey or a conversation with the people that we're engaging with, then that conversation, just as if you and I are having a conversation, we reveal things slowly. We don't give all the information up front. And this is where zero-party data comes in. It's that ongoing reveal of information that is volunteered by the person that's engaging with you, and avoiding the hard sell.
Yeah. Absolutely. Everything, in a way, you said it in such a brilliant way, because everything you said I kind of knew, but it's how do you take that knowing and implementing and adding some value. So I think it's absolutely brilliant. So, but I wrote a post the other day
as well.
One of my LinkedIn posts the other day was selling is not telling. And that was like the early version of this, isn't it? But now we've evolved and reiterated and we've made so much transformation. So, but it is small steps as well, isn't it? And it's easy to be overwhelmed and think you have to be perfect. But the whole thing with marketing, and my sort of own belief in it is that the test and measure, isn't it? And proving, reiterating and getting better and learning, because nothing comes to you instantly. And if it does, you might just be lucky on that occasion.
100%. And what I was just going to say was the team you put in place as well, the culture you build, and how you get people to partner together and to work together in a positive way. If you create a team that's too competitive, then people compete against each other and they work in silos. The world is matrixed. Let's think about how, you've got your MarTech team, you've got your operations people, you've got sales, you've got customer success. You're all working together. You need to, as a leader, figure out how you set the right qualitative objectives as well as quantitative ones for your team members, so that they can go and do the right thing and get those pieces in place and work with their colleagues around this. And they need to have a vision of, what are we doing, rather than just a scoreboard. If it's a pure scoreboard, people will cheat just to make the scoreboard work, and it won't actually, the big picture won't be delivered.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes if, even back to the days when I started in marketing and sales, and you'd see some people, they'd say, right, you need to make X many calls, and they would be like bang, 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 not caring whether they took the call any further. But I've just ticked a box, I've done it. Whereas ultimately, like, what are you going to gain from this? Why don't you just make 5 calls, make them brilliant, make them qualified, someone you already know and researched, you've already got them pre-agreed, they know you're going to call them. That's the value and where we're coming from. And I'm just sort of reflecting really how far we've all come on this journey really over these years. And even I guess in 5 years time we'll be looking back and reflecting as well. And I've looked and played with those personality profiles actually, some of the that you can get one for LinkedIn. Well, it's the only thing is that if the data is based on only what's in the internet domain, because what we found is if it's only what's in the internet, then that isn't necessarily a true representation of the person, because that's the story they want to reflect to the world. So we had that where we looked at our own ones and we thought, oh yeah, it's quite accurate. And then we spoke to a couple of our clients and said, oh, we've done this profile on you. I just thought we'd show you what we've done and see if you think it's accurate. And they were like, no, but that's the image I'm trying to project, but that's not really me. So I think that's there's still some areas to play from that. But once you know the person and you've had more
and
of an
your
interaction,
CRM can plug to those. If you're actually using your CRM well and your marketing tech stack well, you can take the internet stuff that you've got and you can take the things that you have in terms of the emails, the interactions, the calls, etc. that you do, if you're using AI properly in that stack, and you can start to weld them together and you can start to get a much deeper understanding. It's good. It's a really interesting part of the marketing world.
No, it is. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Well, so finally, we're coming to the final part. Is there anything I haven't asked you, David, that you think I should have, or anything you want to share?
You've not asked about AI, which is quite refreshing. People are talking a lot about AI. Should we talk a little on that?
Yeah, let's have a quick chat about AI. Yeah, I think I said to you offline, I've done a lot with AI personally, so I feel like I'm quite confident with AI. But I know so many of my marketing peers who I talk to, whenever even I tell them some of the things I'm using, they're like, "Oh my goodness!" So that's one of the reasons I think it's in its infancy for marketeers, and so perhaps what's your experience with AI?
So AI is really interesting. It's a new technology and we've not managed to find the way yet to scale it fully into the kind of solutions. And if we look at sales and marketing transformation that AI will lead, that is super exciting. So, if we go back to this idea of buying groups and personality types, and, we've got all of this rich data that's sitting there that we've not mapped properly. Using AI, we can do that. We can get our AI to start to build out for us, the influence structures that might be inside an account, how people engage, how they like to engage. And if you go back to the zero-party data idea, if the AI can actually ask the customer how they would like to engage, rather than just having like a really static form on the screen saying, can we contact you by email or SMS? That's your typical kind of environment, isn't it?
Yeah.
And really trying to understand the buyer, what they're trying to do, and, do what's right for them. You can look at their journey through the website or the social channels, what they're looking at, how they're engaging, and start to really map that down. So I think that's going to be the real transformational piece for sales and marketing. Personalizing things, mapping those journeys, putting that data in place. It doesn't mean marketeers aren't needed. Marketeers are needed even more because the marketeers need to use that AI to drive really effective interactions, really effective data and understanding of that data. So yeah, to me, AI is going to be a huge transformation for sales and for marketing. And I'm really excited to see where it goes. And this is just moving beyond prompts and ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you're using. That really is just an accelerator. It's a productivity piece. This is about changing and transforming.
Yeah, I think it's good to start with some of those basic prompts, and in a way, all it is a different car, isn't it? It's like an electric car. It's of the search engine world, and you're just learning to long tail search and to build that in. I've looked at lots of AI actually that look at personalisation and intros, and I still feel there's still a way to go yet, because I can still see errors coming into it, and there's nothing more mortifying than somebody receiving something and then realizing that the AI has done it. It wasn't you that personalized it. And so there is that element. But I think there is, I think you're right. I think in a few years' time, once they've ironed out some of those areas, but it all comes down to the data input and output, doesn't it? So it's only as good as the data you can put into the AI to spit it out at the other end, to put it in some type of personalization. But yeah, I think it's huge. And I think a lot of people are frightened of AI, and I 100% agree. It's not going to change anyway. I don't think it's going to cut down on marketing. It's just going to make things smarter and slicker, probably more customer focused, in my opinion. And I think we're all, as customers, we're going to become more and more demanding on. I received an email from a competitor, and they're actually not even a competitor. They're actually another recruitment company that do engineering recruitment. Why are they targeting me? I'm a recruiter, and I also don't have any engineering people in my company, but I still keep it on my list, because every month it makes me smile when they send me through an email saying, "Hello, have you got any engineering jobs?" And I kind of feel like going, "Come on, guys, can't you be better than this?" Yeah, exactly. Be better. And, so I think that we will be less forgiving as customers in the future, when we know that there is a choice, and it is, people are being really lazy by taking that approach.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if you look at like just a list, for example, if you look at like how we do email marketing, people pull a list and they send an email to this list in a very old school, mechanical way. You can use the AI today to say, okay, who in this list is high propensity to engage, given what we know? Who really shouldn't be on this list, and who do we remove from this list? So we should be micro-targeting. We should also be asking the AI, this email that somebody has written, is this going to work for all of the people on this list? Or do some people really not like this? Should we translate some? Translation is a great AI use case that works really, really well and is robust. As is speech recognition. So, the automated speech recognition world, turning all of your call center conversations or your sales conversations into text works really, really well. And then pushing that through your CRM and engaging it and picking up the keywords that that those people are using. I've got an interesting story maybe to kind of close out on. I won't say which phone vendor this is. So my phone contract has just come to an end. So I was on the website of the phone provider in the UK that will remain nameless. And I'm looking at, I've got a price that's there for my monthly cost for unlimited data and traveling and all this kind of stuff. And I own my phone, and I'm on there and I'm looking for like, okay, well, if I wanted a new phone, how much would it cost me, versus this? And then I'm going and I'm looking through all these different options, etc. And they don't seem to be following what I'm doing. Really there should be an AI there saying, oh, I understand the pattern of behavior that David's exhibiting here. He's trying to figure out, should he go to Apple and buy a new phone, or should he get one with us? And I'm going through this and I'm doing the calculations and looking at it and saying, well, it's more expensive if I do it through this phone company than if I just go and buy it from Apple. Even if I finance it from Apple, it's cheaper through that route. And then I'm looking at the SIM packages that are in there, which are all more expensive than just staying on the existing package that I've got there. And then I accidentally go off down into this page, which is thinking of leaving us. And my phone rings within like 10 seconds of landing on this page. And there's somebody there saying, hello, you're looking to leave us. And I'm like, no. I just ended up on the webpage. They're like, why did you get on that webpage? I'm like, because my contract's at an end. Well, what would you like? And they just went into this hard sell, this horrible hard sell of not understanding me as a person, not understanding where I was. They didn't have any data in front of them. They didn't understand where I'd been on the website. And that person could have been amazing and said, oh, I see you've been looking at these iPhones. And do you like that phone? Is that what you're thinking of? There could have been empathy shown instead of going straight into that hard sell. AI can do that today. Those journeys can be mapped today. We can give those agents these things, and we can move away from super low cost call center, do 1,000 calls in a day, and maybe convert a tiny percentage of them. So I think as marketing leaders, that's what we have to do. We have to stand up for the customer and experience what the customer goes through and listen to some of these calls. I'm hoping somebody at the unnamed telecoms provider will actually listen to the difficult call I had with this person, because I rated it as like a 1 out of 5 when they asked for feedback, and maybe they'll learn something from that.
Yeah, because the thing is if they had phoned you, I mean, sometimes you are lost on a website, aren't you? And you're thinking, so someone phoned you at that moment and said, oh, look, I can see you're a bit lost. Do you want my help? And we're like your friend rather than a sales. You'd be like, oh my God, thank you. I'm going to, it might be a bit more money, but you've just saved my brain. I'm going to sign on. Yeah, but I completely have empathy with that and understand it. I've been there on countless times too. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story and explaining it in real life terms of AI. Actually, because I think it's, you can sometimes get so highbrow with AI, and then I think people sometimes just get overwhelmed with it. I've learned so much from this conversation.
You're kind. You're very kind.
No, I have. I generally have, actually. There's going to be something I'm going to ask you offline about AI in a minute, because you've made something trigger in my mind. You've been such a great guest, so thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on and spending the time to do this. And to everyone else, thank you very much for listening and supporting us and all your kind reviews that you've left recently. Please do keep reviewing if you can, because it will help us be found by others and keep building the community in technology marketing. But all the best, and thank you very much.